Welcome back to another video. We're going to be going over how to create your own VPN server using something called Wireguard and Docker. Luckily for you guys, I have already created a Docker video, so if you need to get Docker installed before starting the VPN configuration, you can go check out that other video. But right now, let's just get right into this. The way the video is going to go is I'm pretty much just going to do some lessons just so you guys understand how the VPN works, what it's used for, like best practices and things like that, and probably some misconceptions around security and whatnot. If you were curious on what WireGuard looks like, this is all it is. You would install the client. WireGuard is on iPhones, Android phones, Linux computers, and Windows computers, and it's just an application you can install. You have to import the configuration file after creating the server, and then right from there, you just hit activate, and voila, your VPN is active for your computer. So now there are a few ways we can utilize a VPN. If you're just trying to do it for security purposes, basically it's going to just mask your public IP address and use encryption tunnels. The best way to make this possible is by creating this Linux machine with Docker on it in a different environment than your home environment. Now there's another reason to use a VPN, which is kind of why I would use one, is because I want to be able to get onto my home network from anywhere in the world. What that allows me to do is be able to get to any devices at home, like my computer booted up using like Wake on LAN, or getting to my HomeLab if I'm on the go. This is the most practical solution for that. It's also a really great learning experience to understand how a site-to-site VPN actually functions, because we'll be creating the server ourselves. If you understand how a VPN actually functions and works and the security points behind it and how the public IP addresses work, you can go ahead and skip to the actual configuration of the VPN. But if you don't know how it works, I do suggest just sticking around and just tag along for how VPNs are actually functioning to either encrypt your data, hide your public IP address, or just get you tunneled into your home network. So to get started, let's go over what a home VPN actually looks like. So let's consider this our house with my amazing drawing skills. Yep, totally a house. There you go. Looks kind of okay. And inside of this house is your VPN server. So this is your VPN. And this is your home network, right? So what happens is when you're outside of your house, you are not able to get onto the home network here. But to do so, you would utilize a VPN. And say this connection here is your WireGuard application, and here's your host computer outside of your house. And all you're going to be doing is connecting to the WireGuard application, and all of your packets are going to get forwarded to your VPN client. And what that really means is that you are going to try to reach a public IP address. Let's say this is your public IP of your house. That would be considered like your modem from your ISP would distribute a public IP address. So you're going to connect to this public IP with this WireGuard configuration. It's going to have a port number. Let's just say 1234 for now. That's a messed up 3, but totally ignore it. And using that port number, it's going to forward the traffic to your VPN server, because that is what it's going to be configured for. And I'm going to be showing you guys that in just a moment when we start actually doing the configuration. But here's a good way to understand it. Just keep in mind, when it comes to security, yes, your data gets encrypted on the way over to the VPN, but if you do anything sketchy on that VPN and the VPN is hosted in your house, your public IP address is definitely still trackable. It's even trackable if it's in the cloud as well. But just keep in mind, all your traffic that goes out back to the internet is coming from your home. It's still coming from your home public IP address. And that can also be tracked to whatever IP address that this is on as well. But that's a little bit more complicated, and they'd have to jump through a bunch of hoops, because WireGuard would have to forward this public IP address to your home public IP address. So it's all this weird networking stuff, but this is generally how it works. So now that we're done with the explanation of how VPN works, we can just get right into this configuration. Again, we are going to be using Docker, namely Docker Compose. And what that is pretty much just a feature of Docker that helps us manage and edit and change all of our configuration files for each Docker container. Now they have incredible documentation for all of the Docker stuff that you might need to know, like installing the Docker Compose component if it's not already installed. If you have the new Docker version, it should come natively installed with it. But again, you could check out the documentation. It's quite easy, or just check out my other video that I've already mentioned with setting up a Docker server. So one of the first things we can do is just type in Docker Compose version, and this will make sure that Docker Compose is actually installed on your device, and we should be just good to go from getting our configuration done. Now I'm going over this kind of like in a newbie way, just so you guys can understand what's happening, where things are going, and how to get everything kind of figured out while we do this. That way, when you ever circle back around to it, you can navigate yourself without having to really refer to me. So the first thing we're going to do is look at how the file structure is inside of Linux. And we are going to be making a directory to store our WireGuard configuration. So let me show you guys that now. So the ls command is going to list all of the directories. And if you want to change directories, you would use the cd command. Now you can use 2 dots and it'll go back a directory. We are already in the root directory, so it's not going to go back to anything. But for example, if we're going to be in our home directory, again, we can go back 1 directory and that brings us to the root. So again, looking at the list command, we're going to see all of the folders within the root directory. Now, where a lot of people, now this isn't mandatory, keep in mind, but it's a good practice to keep all of your containers in the same directory. Some people like to use their home directory. By default, Docker does suggest using the opt directory, which is OPT. So I'm going to show you guys that now. So if we cd into OPT, this is where we would host our Docker configuration files. So you can see here that I already have a container, and we are going to just be making a new one. So to do that, we're just going to do mkdir for make directory, and we're going to name it WireGuard. And then if we type in the ls command again, you will notice that there'll be a folder called WireGuard. All right, so now that we got our folder created, we are going to be going into the folder. We can do that by just going cd and then WireGuard. So inside of the WireGuard directory, we are now going to be creating something called a YAML file. Now, a YAML file is pretty much just the whole configuration of our Docker container. So we can just name it docker-compose.yaml, right? So this will be the name of our file, and we can use a text editor. I like to use Nano, and this is going to create our file. So this is where we start to refer to some documentation. If you go to the GitHub link here, I will obviously leave this in the description, or you can just Google search really quick, Docker WireGuard, and you will be able to find this. So this is the configuration for the Docker Compose file, and we can copy this and start editing how we want it to be. So the good thing is that we can leave a lot of this stuff on default. We don't have to really mess with it. One of the biggest things is making sure you change your server URL. What this is going to be is the address that you are hosting your device in. So for my case, if we host it at home, I would use my home public IP address. So let's say that's, this, so let's say it's this gibberish IP address, right? To look this up, you can type into Google my public IP address, hit the first link, and you should be able to get your public IP address displayed to you. Another way to do this, of course, would be the server host name if you have a DNS registry for your host, and that could be done simply by using either DuckDNS and entering in your public IP address. That way it keeps it dynamic, or you can be using like some kind of like web server or domain registry service. But either way, the public IP address or the domain name of the server is going to go here. The second thing is going to be our server port. Again, we can just leave this on default, but these are the two most important pieces of this, because to connect to this, we need to make sure that this port is open up on the firewall that's hosting your computer. Again, in my case, the firewall is going to be like my AT&T modem. Hop into that, make sure I use a firewall rule and open up the port 51820. You can change this port number to pretty much anything that you want if you wanted to. I'm just going to leave it as default because it's not really needed to change. Now the peers is basically the amount of users that your VPN is going to support. For me, I'm just trying to support myself, so I'm just going to leave it as 1. If you wanted 2, just use comma, use 2, 3, 4, so on. Okay. And what this does is create different configuration files for each peer, and then you would send those configuration files out to whoever wants to connect to your VPN. And that is what they are going to use. And I'll show you those configuration files once we get this completed. Now the rest of this can stay on default. This is the DNS server that the host will be using. This is going to be the subnet that the device gets when you join to the VPN. This is going to allow all IP addresses. If you wanted to restrict it, of course, you can enter in the allowed IP address section. For me, again, I'm not going to bother with this because 1, it's a test. 2, I'm not worried about security. And 3, I'm lazy, so defaults work really nicely for me. So the very next thing that we are going to worry about is our volumes. Here, I like to create the volume in the same directory that my Wireguard configuration is going to be in. So that will be the opt folder /Wireguard. As you remember, we made the directory in this opt folder, and then /config, and this will create the volume. And that's it to get started. This will get our configuration all set up. So we can go ahead and save this and exit out. Okay, so after we configure our YAML file, it'll look something like this. Please ignore the config folder. That shouldn't be there yet. We are going to run this command here called docker compose up-d, and this will begin building our container. If we want to take a look into the config file, cd config, list command again, and you'll notice that we'll have a peer 1. We can cd into peer 1. List one more time, and here is our configuration files that we will want to configure the Wireguard application. One quick thing to note is if we wanted to check if this is running, we can do docker container ls. So same thing as listing the directory. We can list all of the containers as well using the same command. And you will see here that we have our Wireguard server. So again, this is using this port, so you get that information. One other type of command you can use is docker space ps, and that will pretty much spit out the same exact thing because it's running on Docker instead of Docker Compose. So this is it for the building of our VPN server. We're technically done. Now I'm just going to show you guys how to get the config file into an application and get connected. One little tidbit of information is if you wanted to see the difference between Docker Compose and Docker CLI, it is this. So technically you will have a YAML file. You'll create the YAML file as we did, and then enter in all of this container configuration information. And one thing with that is that you can actually have multiple services running in one single YAML file. Now, Docker CLI is a little bit different. You would just run this command and it doesn't save this information. So if you ever need to rebuild it, you will have to rerun this command with the changed configuration. Really annoying, not that recommended. So if you can, I would stick to using these YAML files, store them, copy them, use backups, whatever you got to do, and just use Docker Compose in this way. Now let's go ahead and get this configuration file extracted out of this Linux server. Honestly, one of my favorite ways to do this is just use something like FileZilla. There are also tons of different like Linux commands, Linux Windows copy paste commands. You can look those up if you want to. I just like to make my life a little bit easier and utilize FileZilla. So I'm just going to enter in my host, which I don't know what is. So by looking up my IP address, blah, 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 find it in this mess of things, which is here. Also, you will notice that there's a bunch of different networks. What this is actually the container networks. Each container gets its own little network, which is why you can see these Ethernet adapters with their IP addresses attached. But we're just looking for this one. So we're going to .86. So enter in my information and use port 22. So now that we have our Docker stuff here, we're gonna go find that OPT directory, go into Wireguard, go into the config, go into peer 1, and this is the file that I want. Also keep in mind, I'll just copy this just so you can see it. So the configuration file is technically the only thing we want, but let me show you guys what the other one is. I am going to drop this into my downloads. This, drop into downloads. So the PNG file is a QR code. And if you scan the QR code with your phone, it's technically the config file. They're one and the same thing. But sometimes you can use a QR code to make it a little bit more convenient, especially with a phone. Because again, you can get the Wireguard VPN client on any phone. So super awesome. So now let's just assume you already downloaded Wireguard on something. For me, it is my Windows computer. I am going to delete this. This is an old one. And we're just gonna hit add tunnel. Look at that. Here's my peer 1 config file. That's actually not the right one. Here is my peer 1 config file. Open that up and hit activate. Now this, of course, is not going to work because if you remember, I punched in a bunch of gibberish for my host IP address, which would be my public IP address. I'm not going to put my real one because I'm posting this on the internet. You have your real IP address, like you saw in the very, very beginning of the video. I hit activate it and it connected me right away. Of course, here it's not going to, but it's just going to turn on a little green light and you'll start to see little numbers and traffic and logs and whatnot. And that's it. You're connected to your VPN. Now, this is going to enable you to be anywhere in the world as long as you have an internet connection and establish a network tunnel to your, I guess, wherever your server is. Namely, I would do it at home, but you can technically put it in the cloud. So again, it'll just enable that site-to-site VPN connectivity. Another way to use this is to hide your public IP address at least a little bit. And this gives you some type of little security when you're browsing the internet or doing something that you shouldn't be doing. I do not condone that, by the way. Just keep in mind that it can always be traced back to the initial public IP address. If someone wanted to find out bad enough where you actually came from, I'm sure they can. Okay, so just be careful with what you do with this. But that's it. That's how this VPN server gets configured. This is how we do it. I hope this video helped you guys out a lot on how the VPN actually functions and works, the security behind it, if there is any, and helps get you, maybe set up with a HomeLab or something similar as I have. So thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like the content or want to see more. And I do really appreciate it a lot. So thanks guys, and I will catch you in the next video.